Hey everybody, it's Brad coming to you with a brand new Tubi Tuesday for June. And for those who don't know what Tubi Tuesday is, this is a video I do once a month where I highlight and I lowlight a few of the films that I have been watching on Tubi this past month. And make sure you follow along on social media at Tubi Tuesday on Twitter and Instagram. I always post all of my Tubi watches, whether it's on Tuesday or any day of the week. So make sure you follow along. Also, follow my friend Drew at Needs to Be Seen, as he does the same thing. So you can get quite a range of Tubi watches. So let's start off. I always like to start at the bottom. So we're going to start off with, I'm going to do my bottom three. And so I'll start 3, 2, 1. So the first on the list is Queen Crab from 2015. I know Drew over at Needs to Be Seen is gonna shake his head because I know he did enjoy this. I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's just, out of those that I watched, this just kind of landed towards the bottom. It's a really extremely low budget, really cheesy, sci-fi horror feature. A young girl steals her dad's growth experiment infused grapes and feeds them to a pet crab. Years later, the now gigantic crustacean attacks the town. And like I said, I mean, there's an audience for this. It's really cheesy, really low budget, and the effects are very old school sci-fi with the stop motion of the crab kind of coming. But overall, I usually enjoy this type of stuff, and overall this one just didn't click for me. So that's why it landed towards the bottom of the list this month. Next on the list is from 1970. It's called The Wizard of Gore. Now, I watched this and the remake, 2007 remake for The Wizard of Gore, and I quite enjoyed, I wouldn't say quite enjoyed, but I enjoyed the remake more than this original from 1970. And the original from 1970, a talk show hostess and her boyfriend investigate a shady magician who has the ability to hypnotize and control the thoughts of people in order to stage gory on-stage illusions using his power of mind-bending. Now, this film was, I could see if I saw it back in 1970, it would have shocked me a little bit, but watching it now in 2022, it didn't shock. It was fairly boring, and like I said, I enjoyed the 2007 remake much more than this 1970 version. So if you're going to watch The Wizard of Gore, I would suggest checking out the remake over this original one. This just didn't hit it for me. So the very bottom for the month is a film from 2005 and it's called It Waits. A lone female park ranger tries to track down a vicious creature, killing various people and terrorizing her at a remote national park. Now, this film was just straight bad. The creature in it was okay, but you hardly got to see the creature at all. It's a low budget. And typically with a lower budget, your acting's not that great. I see plenty of low budget films that I quite enjoy. This one just, again, like the others, just didn't hit it off for me to even make that so bad it's good list. It's just one of those okay, I watched it and I'll never watch it again, and I would not suggest anybody watching it. Just kind of, no. Don't watch It Waits. All right, let's bring it to the top. I always like to finish it off with with the good films that I've watched in Tubi this past month. First on the list is an Italian horror. This is from 1981 called The House by the Cemetery. A New England home is terrorized by a series of murders unbeknownst to the guests that a gruesome secret is hiding in the basement. Now, this movie was quite fun. There's a lot of Italian horror that I haven't seen. So this past month, I kind of made it a point to watch a little bit more. And in my top 3, this isn't the only Italian horror that's going to show up. What I like about Italian horror is a lot of them are very supernatural, at least a lot that I watched this past month. And the gore in them is quite fun, and the blood that they use with this gore, you can tell it's fake. It's very brightly colored red, but it's got a style to it, and Italian horror just has a certain look and feel to it that you can see why Italian horror is its own subgenre, and I'm definitely going to make it a point to watch even more. There are many of the big ones out there that I have not seen that I put on a list so I could eventually get to them. But the first one on this list I suggest watching, The House by the Cemetery. Next on the list is a film from 2018 called Open 24 Hours. After setting her serial killer boyfriend on fire, a paranoid, delusional woman gets a job at an all-night gas station. I really like this movie. It had a great atmosphere to it. The look of it, it was the way it was shot. I loved most of it was set up. It's at night, it's raining, and the way it was lit, it had an eeriness to it. This woman went to jail for a while for being an accomplice to her serial killer boyfriend. So when she's out, she is seeing a lot of things, getting calls, not knowing if they're real or not. And her boyfriend eventually comes back after her. And she, it takes time to figure out, is this real? Is this not real? And a lot of people die. It is very violent. And I highly suggest checking out Open 24 Hours. It was quite a good watch. I was happy that I checked this one out. So the final one on my list is another Italian horror. It's from 1989, and it is called Paganini Horror. When a female rock band uses an infamous old piece of sheet music to record their new album in an old mansion, they accidentally open a portal to hell. Now, immediately, I started thinking of Studio 666, that is the Foo Fighters horror movie where they play some music and obsessions happen. And I wondered if that film was influenced by this at all. It's another Italian horror. It has that certain look and feel to a lot of the kills in it, and it was just a fun, eerie film. Donald Pleasance is in this. In the version I saw, there are a lot of Italian horror. They're speaking English, but they dub over. And Donald Pleasance is dubbed over with like a deeper voice than what he really has. So it really kind of threw me off a little bit, but still quite recommend Paganini Horror for any fan of not just horror, but Italian horror. And I cannot wait to watch even more Italian horror. You might find some more pop up in this next month. Right now, myself and my friend Drew and many others are doing hashtag 150 Days of Horror. You can follow that hashtag over on social. I have a link below for my Letterboxd, which I have a Letterboxd list for 150 Days of Horror. We are doing 150 horror movies in 150 days. So that's why this month on the Tubi Tuesday, it is predominantly, it is all horror films. And I'm sure next month will probably be a lot of the same because I'm watching very, very bitty horror movies. And those who watch Tubi know the vast catalog of horror movies that they have there, from good to really bad. So many diamonds in the rough in there, and that's part of what I love doing on Tubi Tuesday, is trying to find some of those films. Like, for instance, Open 24 Hours, Paganini Horror. I had never heard of them until I started kind of doing these Tubi Tuesdays, and I'm kind of glad that I found them because they are films that will end up in a occasional watch, I believe. So thank you for watching this new episode of Tubi Tuesday. I'll be back next month with a brand new set of highlights and lowlights. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss one of these. I also have some mini reviews. I have one for Waxwork 2 that I released a couple weeks ago, and a new one coming out for the Tubi original Toe. Watch for that coming very soon. And I'll be back next month with a brand new video. Make sure you follow our podcast over at wearethecinemagaguys.com. And like I always like to say, Tuesdays aren't just for tacos. We'll see you later, everyone.